Hi everyone. Sorry I can't be there in real time, and I'm having to pre-record this. But thank you so much to Broken Sleep for publishing my latest book, The Data Harvest, which is a real honor. Thank you to Aaron, of course, for his editorial guidance throughout. Thank you also to J.H. Prynne for his critical advice with this book, as with the previous book, and for his generosity in providing a blurb for the Data Harvest. It means a lot. Thank you also to all the other poets in this reading session. I'm really looking forward to owning your books physically and getting the opportunity to spend more time with them, attend to them on a more granular level, and to discover some of their secrets. The Data Harvest is a long poetic sequence in 29 parts, some of which were loosely inspired by the structural arrangements and metrical dynamics of 17th and 18th century verse forms, which were then taken as kinds of romantic poetic templates with their own sort of architectural traces, memory traces, or engrams, into which were woven the sort of languages, terminologies of information technology, of the digital age. And I suppose if there's a if there's a core theme that could be identified in the Data Harvest, it would be that kind of hybrid interrelation of ecology to technology in what has been called the Anthropocene. The kind of deformation of ecology that accompanies technological proliferation. So in this book, I was really interested in the transformation of reality, material reality, through digital mediation, digital media. So out of the 29 sections in the book, I'm going to read 5. And the ones I've selected are from spaced out points in the sequence. So I'll start with the first in the sequence. The Data Harvest 1. Before utility fog outnumbers our sensations maladaptive, capacitance that misremembers exploits as implosive, as the floating gates whose termination shocks exceed, with stratospheric aerosol injections shot at speed, through a blue dome of air, whose ardours of rest stop up with silver iodide the supercells they supersede. The sequestering capacity of every clustered forest, defoliated leaf by leaf, drives the data harvest of our evidence ablaze, while from extinguished zones of maze, each flock of boids that sings, of sense and outward things, distorts itself with renderings of terrains, bitmaps, denature, moving about in worlds not yet acclimatized to positive feedback loops, overturning the temperature of disequilibrated seasons once standardized, now forced to make recalibrations in line with vast deglaciations, leaving nothing to rebound the rays that are yet the thermographic fountain of our days. As dynamic simulations and predictive charts remodeling fresh water cycles which source codes overtake, with fast-flowing downrushes of information leveling migratory tributaries and flyways in their wake, from a central time server, orchestrated changeover, cladding spent stems and oiled springs with zircaloy, proportioned to the pattern recognitions they deploy, no blizzard can abolish or destroy. When upstream, the synchronizations of a river with a totalized reality branch out and break up the surface of the sea, that, while cultivations wither under mechanical corruptions of uncalm weather, eutrophies red tides and spring blooms, rolling evermore along the future desolations of an undegrading shore. The Data Harvest 4. Disaster recoveries become machine readable by marking up the unintended consequence of stranded assets thrown down on a shake table or payloads poised upon reusable launch sites. Destructible environments pocked with crumple zones get swiped off the map as they incur the pseudo-random precision of predator drones, raising degrees of freedom. Digital puppetry, making somatosensory commotion quiesce in step with the odometry of truck platoons gone driverless, dissimulates its meta-heuristics overturning jussive moods with a voice command device's deep learning. Setting whole genomes in sequence, superintelligence concentrates unstable factions, matching their fusion reactions, nameplate capacity, to triple-figure zettabytes, keeping pace with our brainstorm's neuroplasticity. The Data Harvest 13. Inasmuch as instruments of turbulence revolving override full runs with their lost traction, supply chains exhaust, benchmarks to adjust, fuel cells that stall when they jumpstart. Still, before time, earth moving, past each de-treed spoil at speed, deciduous forerunners deindustrialize instead, azoic island clusters with raw draglines interleaving, plastic-eating enzymes to their aquamarines. Claytronics striving for the world's negation regenerate entirely from dust motes falling squarely over cells and waveforms unrecorded, which subsisted then and no more maintain the unsimulated strain of disintegrations recomposed as helixes safeguarded. Trigger and consequence charged as vital, coil sprung with vorticity, like magnetic sails thrown by the drag coefficients of some echeloned device. Micro-elements near ref device substitute their touchstones for touchscreens, marking the crystallinity of black tides stained as digital. The Data Harvest 20. As stones upon a centrifugal string overspin, multipartite viruses whirl within a mainframe, misrendering satin for sarin, mists from the endgame, locusts begin. Quaternary debris, transfumed for gasoline, fills each storage system with the viscoelasticity of shock absorbers frictionlessly dampened to sideline non-stop superfluxes with an anthropoid non-entity. In the wake of hypercatalectic turbulence, hereinbefore overstepped by draglines from an undeciphered file name, now lost like a rotifer inside a stenophore's trip-wired nerve net, aflame at the core. A looped square's command key reels in the day to irreversibly excise private connections with the anonymity of lights-out warehouses that ouse-form and itemize, forklifts as they hinge on disimpassioned productivity. The Data Harvest 29. While globalized distribution centers reconstruct from a choropleth map's infographic the gross domestic product of barcode classified traffic, communication lines auto-destruct, barriers to entry once their plenum, reverse engineering an Internet of Things, reifies a virtuality continuum. Direction finders bear down their ground trace, distancing the whereabouts of grid cells through vanishing points that de-interlace the obsolete videotaped pixels of abandonware like debris in space, shorted out, sparked blue by a hurricane's stadium effect, whose arced power flash transects like lightning our coronal planes, where Myrex bioaccumulates with fly ash particulates and dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane, before the heart's voltage under repetitive strain unearths such moral hazards. As scale models kitbash and eyewalls effects and mental images fizzle out beneath the technical standards of expansion cards whose comparative advantages laying waste the autoimmunities of plagioclimax communities, phylogenetic affinities, transform the anomaly detection, honing our focus group's data collection. Thank you so much.